All right, let's dive right into the most critical current affairs for your civil services exam. Today, for April 19th, 2026, we are connecting global flashpoints directly to national strategy, and we're kicking things off with a question that really defines modern geopolitics.
Now that's a powerful term, isn't it? Economic terrorism. It was used by the UAE to describe what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. When a vital trade artery gets choked off like that, it's not just a security threat, it's a full-blown economic attack. So the real question is, how does a country like India fight back?
The answer? This. A staggering 12,980 crore rupees. This is the sovereign guarantee India has just thrown down for the Bharat Maritime Insurance Pool. You can think of it as a massive national insurance shield designed to keep our ships moving even when global insurers run for the hills because of a conflict.
Okay, and right off the bat, let's defuse a classic prelims trap. Take a good look at the map. The Strait of Hormuz is bordered by Oman and Iran. A lot of aspirants get this wrong and pick the UAE. You need to lock this distinction in your mind. It's these tiny details that can make or break your score.
So all of this naturally leads us to our first major theme, global flashpoints and energy security. We're going to analyze how India is responding to these crises in what we call its extended neighborhood. And yes, that absolutely includes West Asia.
So what's happening on the ground? Well, things have escalated. We're talking about the Iranian Navy actually firing on Indian-flagged vessels. And remember, almost a fifth of the entire world's oil and gas flows through that tiny strait. The stakes are just immense. The key takeaway for you is India's two-pronged response. First, activate the BMIP for economic muscle, and second, use diplomatic channels under its Sagar Doctrine, which, as you know, stands for security and growth for all in the region, to push for safe passage.
You know, this whole crisis, it's a textbook, real-world test of a crucial concept for your mains paper, strategic autonomy. It's this idea that you can act in your own national interest, even when the big global powers are trying to push you around. And guess what? We just saw a perfect example of this play out with Russia and the US.
So despite enormous pressure, despite threats to pull the sanctions waiver, Washington just did a complete U-turn. They've extended the waiver for India to buy Russian crude oil. This is a massive strategic win. It ensures stable energy supplies for us, the world's third largest crude consumer. India played its cards perfectly, engaged with both sides, and in the end secured its own national interest. That right there is strategic autonomy in action.
But look, strategic autonomy isn't just about putting out fires, right? It's also about building for the long term, creating your own sovereign capacity. And that brings us perfectly to our second theme, strategic technology and governance.
What you're seeing here is a tale of two eras. On the left, you have the old Atomic Energy Act from 1962, which basically keeps the door locked and bolted against private investment. But on the right, you have the proposed Shanti Act, which throws that door wide open. It's designed to bring in the foreign direct investment we desperately need to hit that huge 100-gigawatt nuclear target.
And this digital journey, it's been something else, hasn't it? Just look at this timeline. It's an incredible 30-year leap. We went from VSNL's first dial-up internet back in '95, to the Digital India program, to the UPI revolution that changed payments forever. And now, look where we are, launching the massive India AI mission with over 10,000 crore rupees to build our very own AI ecosystem.
But here's the reality check. The tech race is absolutely brutal. I mean, just look at this chart. In 2024, China installed a mind-boggling 80% of all humanoid robots in the world. This isn't just a market trend, folks. This is a statement of technological dominance. It's a strategic challenge. So, what's India's move? Well, the response is clear. To counter this, and to make sure we don't end up dependent on others, India has launched its own national robotics mission. The whole point is to build our own capabilities, our own IP, and to secure our place in this automated future. Okay, let's pivot now, from global tech races to some critical challenges right here at home. This section is all about environment, biodiversity, and geography. We're zeroing in on that classic UPSC tightrope walk. How do you balance development with protecting our most vulnerable species? Okay, big news here. The Supreme Court has just put a stop to an order that would have denotified a huge chunk of the National Chamble Sanctuary. Why does this matter? Because this area is pretty much the last good habitat for the critically endangered gharial. Now here's your prelims alert. Please note, this is a wildlife sanctuary, not a national park. Those two categories have very, very different levels of legal protection.
And sticking with conservation, let's get an update on Project Cheetah. It's still evolving. We've just had 4 new cheetahs arrive at Bannerghatta Biological Park in Bengaluru, all the way from South Africa. The main goal here isn't just about numbers. It's about enhancing the genetic diversity of the captive population. That's absolutely key for the project's long-term success. And never forget, the species we're reintroducing is the African cheetah, because Iran declined to give us any of their Asiatic cheetahs.
All right, for our final section, let's tie all of this together under diplomacy, security, and ethics. This is where we look at how India plays the complex game of geopolitics, while also dealing with some really tough ethical questions on the home front.
So, you've probably heard that with tensions flaring between the US and Iran, Pakistan is offering to be the mediator. But, and this is a big but, we need to look at the track record, right? As you can see, from being a secret go-between for the US and China to acting as a pipeline for the CIA in Afghanistan, Pakistan's idea of mediation has almost always been about its own strategic interests, not about being a neutral referee.
And this really brings us full circle, back to that core idea of strategic autonomy. As the analyst C. Rajamohan puts it here, real autonomy in today's world isn't about being isolated. It's about pragmatic alignment. It means working with powers like the US when our interests align, say, to counter Chinese dominance, but without ever giving up our right to make our own decisions.
And to wrap up, let's put on our GS Paper 4 hats for a moment and tackle a tricky ethical dilemma. The issue? The Athletics Federation of India wants to DNA test athletes. So how do we break this down? From a utilitarian view, we'd have to ask, do the benefits, like preventing injuries, outweigh the harm to privacy? From a Kantian perspective, we have to ask if we're just using athletes as a means to an end. And of course, a rights-based view, anchored in the Puttaswamy judgment, would demand strict compliance with the DPDP Act.
Okay, pencils down, let's do a super quick, rapid-fire revision of the absolute must-know facts from today's analysis. The BMIP guarantee, 12,980 crore. The nuclear target, 100 gigawatts by 2047. India's crude rank, third largest consumer in the world. India AI mission outlay, 10,372 crore. And the Gharial's IUCN status, critically endangered. Get these locked in. And I want to leave you with a question, a real essay-level question to chew on. Is strategic autonomy a genuine doctrine, a North Star that actually guides India's foreign policy choices? Or is it just a convenient label we stick on our pragmatic decisions after we've already made them? Think about it. We'll see you in the next one.
If you're ready to really practice all 8 mains questions from today's news, and you want to get your hands on Prelims MCQs and detailed notes, go ahead and download the complete PDF. Just scan the QR code on your screen or use the link in the description to join our Telegram channel. Keep up the amazing work, stay consistent, and I will see you in the next explainer.